Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 37 of the Rock and Roll Beer Guy podcast. This episode is brought to you by Phantom Carriage Brewing. Phantom Carriage is a horror-themed brewery located in Carson, California. They got a movie theater in there that's playing old-school horror movies all day. They got some tremendous food. They got some really great sour beer and IPAs. I highly recommend you go out there. I'm out there at least once a week. And if you talk to the bartender, let them know that the podcast sent you, and they'll knock off 10% from your bill. In this episode, I talked to Randy Bradbury. He's a bassist for the legendary band Pennywise. We talk a bit about craft beer and their new brew, Pennywiser, that just came out through Lost Coast Brewing. We talk about his career and playing shows 20 years later with the band Pennywise. Catch them on the road with the Full Circle anniversary shows that are happening in November and December. And grab yourself some of that Pennywiser before it's all gone. It was a real honor talking to him, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Cheers.
To all my friends present, past and beyond, especially those who weren't with us too long. Life is the most precious thing you can lose. While you were here, the fun was never ending. Life a minute was only beginning. Captain Coleman Nichols, this one's for you!
Hi, Eddie. Sorry to keep you waiting. Thanks.
No worries.
That's great. I'm trying to get him fed.
That's the parent's life, man. I feel you.
You got? Do you have kids?
I do not, but I raised both my brother and my sister. My mother went into like a postpartum depression, so I had to take care of them for a couple of years.
Oh wow, yeah, wow. Holy moly! Then just as good as anyone else, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm ready for when I have my own. But...
Right. Well, maybe that made you think twice about it. Okay. Oh man, what was the age difference between you and your siblings?
I was 20 years old, and when they were born.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy moly. Well, hey, you're a hero, man.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it definitely made me rethink the timing of having my own child. For sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Our daughter, our oldest daughter, she was 10 when we had number 3 and 4, and she was really into it, and she wanted to help out and stuff. But then as time went on, of course, you got 4 kids. They have to help out, and so I think that's going to make her rethink the timing of having kids too. So that's probably a good thing.
For sure. Yeah, it's definitely it helps also build up character for when the time comes. A lot of people have them too soon and don't know what to do with them, and it's just much better that way.
All right. Well, so here we are. I'm pretty much sorry to keep you.
No worries. No worries. Let me set up the stage real quick here for the listeners.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Rock and Roll Beer Guy podcast. I'm here with Randy Bradbury of the legendary punk band Pennywise.
Hello.
How you doing today?
All right. I'm good. Just doing what I do.
Play bass and take care of kids?
Yeah, and try to chill out for a little bit when I can, but that doesn't happen much. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, your touring schedule isn't as crazy as it used to be, I would assume, right?
No, we everyone in the band has kids, so we all have a family, and so we all try to incorporate family time into our schedule. So it's we don't have a crazy touring schedule at all. It's pretty cool. And then when I am home, it's like I'm not spending all day driving hours in traffic, so I actually probably get to spend more time with my kids than, if I didn't have to, if I had a regular job and didn't have to travel,
Sure.
So it works out pretty.
And what's home right now? Are you still in Long Beach, or have you moved somewhere else?
So I was born and raised in Long Beach, but then we moved to Huntington Beach about 20 years ago. So we live in Huntington. The rest of the guys live in Hermosa Beach.
Cool.
But yeah, so I'm south of them. Where's your podcast at? Where are you located?
I'm located in Long Beach, actually.
Oh, okay. So you know what's up. All right. Born at Memorial Hospital. And
nice.
grew up in Belmont Shore, Naples area most of the time.
Very cool. Very cool. Going back, talk about a little of the touring schedule and stuff like that. You do have some festivals coming up and stuff. I saw that you're doing the Ye Scallywag Festival, which is a big craft beer festival on October 21st.
Yeah, down in San Diego. I think it's Waterfront Park. It's right. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, that's down there. That's pretty cool. They're going to have Pennywiser, the beer we just collaborated with Lost Coast on tap. So
Yeah. I was going to talk to you about that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, there's going to be plenty of that, food, drinks, beer, all that.
Are you a big craft beer guy? Do you drink a lot of craft beer or no?
Well, absolutely. Yeah, actually, yeah. But like everything else, because I'm such a trendsetter, I was into it way before it was popular. I remember driving, I'd have to drive across town to the certain places that would have, and before I started, getting into like all the different kind of obscure craft beers, I was, getting, pale ale and anything that they would get, their celebration ale, blah, blah, blah. And then I started, just searching stuff out and, and all of the typical ones like Stone and Lagunitas and Green Flash, stuff like that. So, and Lost Coast too. That's why when Lost Coast was brought to the table, I was really excited about it. But yeah, but stuff will get you in trouble because I like to drink beer, and so I don't want to just have one or two beers and then stop. I like to cruise, and so if you can't really cruise too much on IPAs. You're pretty soon you'll have your shirt off, and you'll think you're tough, or you're feeling good looking. Too many stories. It just gets ridiculous for a while, and then just not getting in trouble. But my wife is getting mad at me. Put it that way.
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, some of the IPAs, especially the ones out now, they're up into 7 and 8% categories. You can't have a 6-pack. You have to limit yourself to 1 or 2 for sure.
Yeah, which is funny because they started packaging them in 4-packs too a while ago, which is like, pretty. It makes sense. One I used to like. My favorite for a long time was Sculpin. Too.
Oh, yeah, that's a great IPA, yeah.
At Ballast Point. Yeah, that was pretty much my favorite. But yeah, I had to kind of give those guys a break. So then I moved down into like, I don't know, I guess I like Hefeweizens and white beers and stuff like that. And those are pretty cool, but they're a little heavy. Kind of like drinking bread.
Yeah. The carbonation on those usually it gets me bloated. I can't really drink too many of those either.
No, but they're super good. You get, it's just like that time of day, and you're super cold, and you pour it in a glass, and it's just, the best thing. But yeah, those, 2 or 3 of those, and then you're done. And then, what's the other option? Like Coronas, no thanks. It's just, it tastes like, that stuff just tastes really bad. It tastes like, it's stuff like that. And then Coors Light, I got, a ton of my buddies drink Coors Light, and I'm like, if that was my only option, then I just wouldn't drink. I wouldn't even do it, because with Coors Lights, I'll drink Coors Lights today because I'm going to be drinking a lot, and then. But what happens is I start looking at those mountains, and they start going from blue to gray, and then I'm like, oh, I better drink this thing. So I just down like 18 of them, and the next thing you know, I'm wasted. I'm like, yeah, I was drinking Coors Lights to not get wasted.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I have to limit myself as well. Like, I try to stay away from like the really crappy beers if I can. Like if it's the only option, I'll try and get a cocktail if there's anything, if there's liquor around. But for the most part, I'll usually always go to shows with like a cooler full of beer, and I end up I'll bring some back to the bands and we hang out and drink. But yeah, I try to provide a little bit better beer than what most venues will provide for the bands.
Yeah, that's cool. I had on our riders. Really, like, my favorite thing, like, the thing around, to get around all of that and pretty much still enjoy beer, ended up being Pilsners, like German-style, Czech-style Pilsners. And so on our rider, it would always be, because those guys the rest of the guys in the band, they just want to drink kind of. They don't want to branch out too much. They like what they know. But but I would have on the rider a case or whatever you get, whatever the best local beer is. Preferably Pilsner or Pale Ale or something like that. So, in Europe, I ended up in tons of really, really great beer that no one ever hears of. They're like regional and stuff, and then there's all craft breweries all over now. And I remember I used to think that imports were, when I was younger and drinking, it was like imports were the thing. Those are the best beers. But it ended up, over probably the past decade or so, it's like the U.S. has the best beers around. It's all these craft breweries, it's people that do it. It's like a labor of love, and they're coming up with really great beer.
Yeah. So, it's crazy. Yeah, like Stone Brewing opened up in Germany, which is like the first American brewery to go over there, and bring the craft movement over there. But yeah, I mean, definitely many years ago, Germany and Europe were the head honchos of the beer world. But now it's all different.
I like German beers though, because they have the German purity law, the Weinheitsgebot or whatever. I don't know if I say it right.
Reinheitsgebot.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Right. But that's, they take it seriously, So they're not messing around with beer. So it's hard. It's hard to get bad beer in Germany. Even something like Beck's, which is the run of the mill, kind of whatever, nothing special there, but it's still pretty good. I'll buy it here and have that, before other things. So
sure, yeah. Yeah, the thing is, people don't understand. It is different when you have it over there compared to when you have it over here. Even if it's brewed over there, by the time it makes it over here, between shipping and exposure to the sunlight and just imperfections in packaging that happen from time to time with the bottle caps and stuff. Like by the time it gets to you over here, it's different. It's a different beer.
Yeah, it is different. And like the best beers I've ever enjoyed. I don't know if it's the best, I can't do a taste test, but a Heineken in Amsterdam is one of the best beers ever. It's just like at the right time, and it tastes different. It's like, it's not skunky,
Yeah.
You think when I was younger, I would get beer, imports, and it'd be like, oh yeah, this is what it's supposed to taste like, but it was skunky, And it's like, why do people like this? It's better be, but it's import, so I better drink it.
Yeah, they've marketed it so that you feel fancy when you order a Heineken. Back in the day before craft beer was a thing, Heineken was the fancy thing you buy at the club or at the bar, like for your friends. I remember that was their marketing campaign, And the I don't know if many people know this, but the reason that it's stinky or skunky, is the green bottle.
Right.
The green bottle doesn't provide any protection from the UV rays, and that's what makes it all skunky.
Yeah, absolutely. And now I guess that's why everyone's going back to cans now. Yeah, why would they put them in green bottles?
Yeah, I don't know. They had it was a thing. It was a European thing. I mean, there are still breweries out in like. For example, in Belgium, most of the best Belgium sour beers and lambics are all in green bottles, but they're preserved, like they're not mass distributed, like they're put underground in cellars and stuff like that.
Right. So. Yeah. I like Belgian ales too. Belgian ales are good because they're strong and they're kind of got that thickness to them, but they're not hoppy, So sometimes you don't want to have all those hops. Sometimes it's just tasting like grapefruit.
Yeah. Most of the new IPAs taste like fruit juice. Like I had one the other day. It tastes like pineapple juice. It doesn't even taste like alcohol anymore.
Well, because they got to sell them. Like, you got to have I kind of worked my way up to IPAs. It was like I didn't even understand what that flavor was, and I think that the first beer that I had that kind of had that kind of bite to it was the Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, and I was like, well, then I would go. I want something stronger than this. And so that's how I worked my way to IPAs. But now IPA is kind of like just a marketing term, it seems. And they just kind of got a lie. They call it an IPA and then make it taste like something that your average beer drinker who isn't going to order a Budweiser wants to try. So
Yeah. Talk to me about Pennywiser, though. I haven't had it yet. I don't know if it's even out yet. Is it out yet?
Yeah, I'll tell you about Pennywiser. So, by the way, I haven't drank in like months now. You know, I've been taking a break. You know, my liver was just looking at me all sad, so I had to mellow out a bunch. But since Pennywise has come out, I haven't even had a chance to try it. But we did try it. I did try the batches that they made. So we, you know, so probably 25 years ago, there's a brand that made like a home brew and put like a label on it, you know, Pennywise label, and, you know, gave it out to a few friends and stuff. And it was, you know, it was cool. So I think that probably was the seed that idea to want to make a beer. And over the years, there's been certain companies that have kind of, you know, talked about it or whatever, and so we kind of decided that this is something that we should pursue. And so we, you know, talked to a few companies. They were all cool, but then Lost Coast got brought to the table, and I was instantly like, wow, now this is real. This is the potential to be really good, because I do like their beers. I like their Great White. I like their Indica Pale IPA. And, you know, they've got good beers. They got quality beer, and it's a good company. So they started. We talked to them. It sounded like something, you know, really good, and they brought down beers for us to try, and we forth with them and trying different things, and gave our feedback, and then they put up Pennywiser, which so they call it a session. You know, because I mean, you know, they're a company that caters to, you know, a certain anyway. So they're going to have a character to it. They don't want to have something that's going to be, you know, run-of-the-mill bar beer. So,
sure.
So with that in mind, you know, and all the things that we, you know, told them about, we wanted it to be something that people could drink, you know, as many of them as they wanted without, you know, being put on the floor or feeling bloated and stuff like that. So it's a really crisp. It's a really good beer. It's not heavy. It's not syrupy. You know, like I think Lagunitas IPA is kind of syrupy. You know, for example, and it's not syrupy at all. It's crisp. It cuts. It's still got that hoppy taste to it. You know, kind of aftertaste, but it just tastes fresh and good. And they did an amazing job. So. So Pennywiser turned out great. Unfortunately, now it's bottled and labeled and all that stuff. I haven't drank them one. But that's what we had.
Oh, man. Well,
yeah, we went through quite a back and forth with them, and this was the best one. So it's good. It's a good beer. You know, I'm getting good feedback too. But it is lighter. It's got, you know, it's like 4.7.
Well, that's good. I need that. I need some lower ABV beers, man. I'm getting more, and as I'm getting older, it's getting harder to down, you know, a few of these 7.5, you know, 8%ers. So I need something like that. And that I'm gonna look out for it, because first of all, I mean, with the podcast and everything, I try every single band collaboration beer that I can find, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that's got to be. You're lucky, you know. I mean, because it is fun. It's almost like having it's like a collection. You know, I mean, you know, you just want to try it, see what's out there. It's the best. So
yeah, it's literally a collection for me. I actually keep one of the each. After I drink it, I'll keep the bottle or a can or whatever. I'll keep them in the kitchen. I have them on top of my cupboards, and you know, I have one from each band. I just recently had the NoFX one that came out not too long ago from Stone.
Yeah, how'd you feel about that?
It was good. It was a little aggressive, but so are every beer that Stone makes is aggressive. So
yeah,
it was a little bitter with the hops, but you know, it was really cool that they did that. You know, I like that there's this like resurgence of punk bands now getting involved with breweries and everything. I think it's great.
Yeah, because it's kind of DIY type stuff, so it kind of goes hand in hand. And you know, and that's fun. I thought about for a minute. About 10 years ago, a friend of ours, you know, he had brewed his own beer. He's really into it. We went to a party, and he had never really had anyone, you know, home brew before. But like I said, the Pennywise one, I didn't drink that, but someone had done it, and that was like gave us the idea. But anyways, this guy's beer, I tried it. And I was like, it tasted really good. And I was like, wow, if he can do it, I can do it. So I got really stoked, and I was like, man, I'm driving home. I already own a bar. You know, like in my head, I own a bar. We only serve my beer. You know, I'm gonna brew up the best beer ever. And so I got home. I'm thinking about it for a week. I ordered a book, like, you know, how to brew your own beer. I should have Googled it. I don't know why. But so I get this book, and I open it up, and on the first page it says, you know, the things that are important in brewing. And the first thing it said is cleanliness, being sanitary and cleanliness. And I go, what?
Oh, yeah.
And I go, that's not fun. And I put the book down, and I was done.
Yeah. That is the number one, man. Cleanliness is literally godliness when it comes to beer, because any little thing can infect the beer and make it, you know, soured out and unintentional sour or something like that, or just gross, you know.
I couldn't get past the sterilizing of the bottles too, because it seems that when you do sterilize them, you pour them, you have to put this solution in them, and then you just dump it out, and there's still going to be a fine layer of that solution in your beer.
Oh yeah. And I mean, a lot of breweries have had issues with that, and with cans, because they end up having too much sanitizer in the can, and it ends up killing the beer.
Yeah, well, I heard.
So it's weird, man.
I had heard about Budweiser, so that they used to use the formaldehyde solution, and when they switched, the beer tastes different, and so they had to come up with some kind of a flavoring that would kind of imitate that. I don't know if it's true, but that's what I had heard.
Well, if that's coming up with formaldehyde flavor to add to the beer. That sounds gross.
Well, it's Budweiser.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean,
I'll tell you what. There's been days where ice cold Budweiser, straight out of the ice chest, in ice, like as cold as can be, out of the bottle. It sometimes tastes so damn good, you know, just drinking it out of the bottle.
Well, it becomes like a refreshing, like, water beverage at that point, because the colder the beer is, the less you're going to get flavor wise out of it. So you'll get stuff, right. You'll get some flavors, but the colder it is, I mean, that's why Coors always tells you to, you know, drink it ice cold, and you know, we're going to let you know that it's cold, so that the colder it is, the less flavor you're getting, and it's more of just like, okay, this is just refreshing and hydrating at this point, you know.
Oh yeah, I mean, I have a fear of warm Coors Light. It's the worst tasting beer on the planet. It tastes like I would imagine stale McDonald's cheeseburgers taste like. It's horrible.
Oh, yeah, that sounds.
My buddies all day long.
Yeah, that sounds terrible. And I mean, sometimes, like, you guys did a lot of the Warped Tour circuit, and I've seen, like, their catering and, like, what they provide bands, and, like, I mean, I've seen them in the parking lot, and there's just cases of shitty, like, Bud Light and PBR and Coors Light sitting out in the sun. I'm just like, oh my God, please don't drink that. Like,
yeah, I wouldn't drink that. I remember one year, I think it was 2002, I want to say. So at that point, so sometimes the Warped Tour turns into, you know, most of the Warped Tours, it's really a drinking fest. And because, look, you're playing a half an hour a day. Everyone, there's so many bands, there's so many people, and it's just the atmosphere is so party and fun that there's always people to hang out with and chill out with. So this one year I had the idea, and you don't always get a chance to eat too, you know?
Yeah.
So the idea that I was just going to drink Guinness. And I figured Guinness would be like kind of my sustenance. And so I was probably drinking like 8 or 10 Guinness a day on that Warped Tour, but needless to say, I mean, it did a good job. I didn't realize that's, really what its intent was. I think it had some vitamin B in there or something, and it's low alcohol. I never thought it would be low alcohol, but it actually is.
Yeah.
And it was accidentally a really good choice.
Yeah, I mean, it is liquid bread, basically, at that point, you know.
Yeah, but I've been stuck drinking that Coors Light and PBR and all that stuff when I'm out there, too. Because sometimes you don't always have if you go to wherever the heck you are, and it's only been probably the last 5 or 6 years that you could go to any liquor store and get craft beer.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I mean, it's definitely grown. There's a lot of markets that before were not carrying. Like, I'm from Miami, and I mean, I was born in New Jersey, then I was raised in Miami, and now I'm in California. But in Miami, when I was there, I mean, there was before I left is when it started booming. But there was nothing for years. I had to get my craft beer out of North Carolina and Georgia and stuff. Like, I would have to drive up for, touring with my band. We would tour and I would discover beer that way, just out of the state. But then, in the last 5 or 6 years, that's when it started really booming down there,
Yeah, Miami, nothing. And it's, of course, I guess New Jersey, then you'd probably, I mean, I know it's from Pennsylvania, but Yuengling is pretty good to have instead of Budweiser, but that's definitely not your craft. That's not crafty.
No, not at all.
But it's fun for a guy from the West Coast to go over there and have a couple of those.
Yeah.
But
I have friends out here in California that love Yuengling. Just they ask people to ship them Yuengling just because they don't get it out here, and I'm just like, it's kind of gross, but okay.
Yeah, well, but it's that beer, that like kind of crisp lager, like there's sometimes that's what you want,
Yeah.
If it's really cold, it's got to be really cold though.
Yeah, for sure. When's the last time you did a Warped Tour?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because I mean, I used to go a lot, and then it kind of got very I don't want to say shitty, but just not my style. More modern and less of the hard punk bands and interesting bands for me anyway. And now this last year, this seems to have they've kind of gone back to it. Like they had Municipal Waste on. Sick of It All was playing, and it was great for me to see Sick of It All teaching these kids this is how it's done, guys.
Yeah, they can give a clinic for sure. Yeah, they're great. It's funny because one of the first Warped Tours we did, it's either the first or the second one. Sick of It All was on that one, and I got to know those guys pretty good, especially Craig. Good dudes, really, really good dudes.
Awesome.
But yeah, but things change. You can't. It's just like if you're, Kevin Lyman, and you're thinking about, he's trying to keep a certain not a certain demographic, but basically a certain age group. I think there's a certain age group of people that go to live music. It's probably from 16 to 26 or something like that, and so if he was still trying to get that, and it was just Pennywise, Rancid, NoFX, and it would probably be good in some markets, but then there'd be other places where maybe not that many people would show up. They want to come and see Asking Alexandria or whoever the hell, whatever the new band is nowadays.
Yeah. We get older. That's what it is. We're getting older, and the newer music is not for me, but they're still selling records, so obviously it's for a specific age group.
You couldn't agree with me more. There's at some point, I don't know when it is, but my music discovery stopped. There's just too many bands. How can you? It's just every band. I don't want it. A lot of it's rehashed too. You go, that's been done before. That's been done before. That's nothing special. There's only so many hours in a day, and I'm not going to sit around listening to every band. I just know, I go back to what I know works, Bad Religion and Sabbath and The Damned, stuff like that,
For sure, man. I mean, you gotta let me fanboy on you just a little. Pennywise is one of the first bands I really listened to as a kid, just growing up. I went to a very strict Catholic school when I grew up, and I wasn't even really allowed to listen to music that wasn't church choir music and that kind of crap. And whatever my father was listening to, the Bee Gees, and he had a little bit of Zeppelin here and there, a little bit of Pink Floyd, but it wasn't really anything exciting until my uncle, who's like a younger uncle, he was probably like 5 years older than me, and he introduced me to you guys. He introduced me to NoFX, Unwritten Law, Bad Religion was like his favorite band, and that Bro Hymn to me was one of those things that just changed my whole life. I'm like, oh my God, it's fast, it's aggressive, it's brotherhood. Everybody's singing together, everybody's having a good time. Like, there's a meaning behind it all, and it's really cool that you guys are still going. I mean, you had an album come out in 2014. That's still, you guys are still cranking it out. It's awesome.
Yeah, well, thank you. That is really cool. I mean, I love hearing that because it's all attached to positive memories, and it's great to be a part of that. We're working on another album right now. We've tracked it, recorded it, and we're in the process. Just it's almost done. We're in the mixing process now, so we should be ready to be putting out another album hopefully at the beginning of the year, sometime in the beginning of next year.
That's fantastic. I was actually going to ask you that, like, if you guys are working on something new, but it seems it coincides with, you guys are releasing a beer. You're doing all these, you're doing your Full Circle 20th anniversary shows that are coming up at the end of November. It's perfect timing for a new album, I think. Yeah, and this goes too, like it's been around for a while. It's crazy because, like, when I first started playing with them, well, I played with them for a minute around the Unknown Road record and recorded that with them, and then had had some time off, whatever. But when I started touring with them around, I really was like, you never know what you're going to get when you try to do that for not for you're just, to me it was just, that's all I wanted to do. That's what I was going to do. So I was going to make some type of living out of it. Sure.
And and so when we Pennywise full time, it was like, this will probably last for about 2 or 3 years. Yep, 2 or 3 years. And it's just crazy. There's a quote like that Brett Gurewitz said one time. It was like, like punk wasn't meant to grow old, but it did, and, I really feel fortunate that we were able to do this, but it blows my mind that there's still viability, and we still got things happening. We're still making albums and people are still interested in what we're doing. And it's really unbelievably fortunate and stoked. And, it's pretty cool. It's pretty crazy. I mean, I wouldn't recommend it for anyone because because I didn't have a pot to piss in for like 15 years. I had to somehow come up with rent every month,
Yep.
So it's rough. You got to really love it,
Yeah, it's not a lucrative business by any means. It's all about a passion.
And it is right. That comes. Yeah, I don't think it's lucrative for anybody who that's what their main concern is for it to be lucrative. I don't think it ends up being. I think that if you do it and you love it, then you're already winning. You know what I mean? And then because you love it and you love doing it, then you're just going to keep doing it. You're going to do the things. You're going to take every opportunity that comes to you, and it's just kind of going to happen. I mean, if someone and they don't give up and they just do it for forever, they're going to do things no matter what that they never thought were possible, and their mind's going to be blown. At some level. I mean. We're not the Foo Fighters, but I still feel like, wow, it's beyond my wildest dreams. I can't believe where music has taken me or us as a band. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I wouldn't have gotten there unless I spent, 6-8 hours a day sitting on my bass and my guitar. And I didn't do that for money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you got to treat it like a regular job. If you're going to do music, you need to be every day, Monday through Friday, get on your instrument, or if you're a singer, do some singing. You have to treat it like a job, because if you want it to make you money eventually, like if that's what you want to do and still pay your bills, then you got to treat it as such. Put the work in.
Absolutely. Yeah, nothing. It's funny. People don't realize how much. I mean, because it's hard to attach the word work to what we do.
Yeah.
But But, you know, putting that aside, it is a lot of work. You only get out of it what you put into it, and sometimes you only get out of it a fraction of what you put into it, you know. So you really have to work. You got to be professional. Like, you know, we don't not show up for gigs. You know, it's like, you know, you have to be professional and be, you know, respectful and all that stuff. I mean, maybe I guess in the 70s you didn't have to if you got a multi-million-dollar record and you know, you happen to hit it big. But I guarantee all bands nowadays are, you know, they're showing up to gigs and they're getting work done and you know, so
yeah, it's a different time. It's a different time for bands, man, especially with the digital switch. Like, nobody's buying actual physical records. I mean, unless it's like a vinyl collector, nobody's really going out and buying CDs. You know, everybody's buying it online or streaming it on Spotify or iTunes or whatever service, you know. And it's not as easy. You're not making as much as, you know, bands used to make back in the day.
Yeah, and that was kind of like the dangling carrot back then. It was like, if you keep playing music, you keep doing this, then you know, you might get a record deal. And then, you know, if you might get a record deal, then you might end up selling a lot of records. And if you sell a lot of records, then there you are. You're set for life because you're going to keep selling records. You're going to get your royalties. But then the internet kind of wiped that out. So that's why I got all these bands touring now. It's like, this is the only way they can earn a living.
Sure.
You know, they're not selling records. So,
yeah.
I mean, but that, anyway, it keeps it pure. It keeps it from just becoming an auto-tune, you know, computer-based entity, you know, because you got to be out there and playing. Technology ended up to the point where you don't even have to know how to play. All you got to do, if you're going to do a song, all you got to do is get a few of the chords right, and they could just assemble the whole song around you. So,
yeah.
You know, it's not. I don't know how old you are, but I know when I started playing, it was like, oh, play the song. Now I've probably gotten. I know that I know how to do it. You know.
Sure. Yeah. No, I'm turning 36 this year. I mean, I'm not that old, but I do come from a different time. You know, I come from a time that you needed to know how to play an instrument and you needed to play it right. You know, and that's why I got so attracted to punk and hardcore and all that, just because it felt real, it felt raw, aggressive. You know, and then I hear newer bands and it just all sounds synthesized, and I have no problem with it. It's just, if it was just one aspect of it, but it feels like everyone is doing it. Like that art is lost of knowing, you know, how to play your instrument. And that's why I still appreciate that you guys are still on the road and no effects, you know, hitting the road. And I feel like now is actually a good time for a punk resurgence, you know, with the political climate. Everybody's got an opinion. Everybody's angry. Everybody wants to let their voices be heard. And that's pretty much what punk music is. You know, it's just, be united and let your voices be heard and all that stuff, you know, and I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. It I didn't have to hear it twice. I was like, oh, this is for me, you know.
Sure. One last thing I wanted to ask you, because it's relevant. Have you seen the new It movie?
Oh, that's you know, nope, I haven't. I never read the book. Okay, I never read the book. I saw the old It movie, I think, on TV or something one time, and thought it was ridiculous. And I've heard good things about this new movie, but I haven't seen it yet. The thing about the band was, and to top it off, I fucking hate clowns. I hate clowns. They're like, it's the worst thing. It's just creepy and goofy, and I'm super not into it. I can't explain it. You know how you just sometimes you have, well, you know, you could call it just irrational, like an irrational
fear,
preferences or you know, dislikes. Mm-hmm. So clowns are one of those things that I just like. I don't like them. So I don't like the reference really, and how ironic is that that, you know, we're named after a clown. But the thing about it that why then it worked, and I wasn't in the band when they made the name, but their friend had read the book It. And it said, this is you guys, that you need to name your band Pennywise, because it was something that you could overcome all the evil or whatever, the adversity or everything, being positive and positive thinking. And Jason, you know, the original bass player and the founding member, the guy that did so much in the beginning and made the band great, was into PMA, you know, positive mental attitude, like the Bad Brains, and that was really the initial kind of ideology of the band. And so that's where they associated that Pennywise would be a great fit. It was because of that positivity and positive thinking to overcome, you know, the evilness and you know, all that crap.
That's beautiful. I never really put that together until, you know, now that you mention it. Like I always just thought you guys were big fans of the movie.
I got to tell you, no, it's funny. I mean, the other guys, I don't know. You know what to tell they are either. I mean, they may have read the book, and they might be. Fletcher would be. If you were interviewing him, I don't know. He might be. I don't know. But I know me personally, like, it kind of makes me cringe, except for the fact that underlying ideology.
Sure.
I don't even know. We've never actually really discussed it as a band, which is kind of crazy, huh? So
yeah. I mean, I figured you guys would probably take like a field trip to go watch that movie together when it came out.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah.
I'm going to suggest that.
Yeah. If you're going to take your kids, I mean, I don't know how old your kids are, but there's some pretty gruesome stuff going on in that movie.
Oh, really? Yeah. Well.
They took it next level with this one. I think just the violence is insane. Like it creeped me out, and I'm a full grown man. It's like, I don't know.
Right. Well, yeah. You know, I'm not big on horror movies. It's not necessarily because they're scary, but they do get me like kind of anxious, like give me anxiety. You know, like you're on the edge of your seat the whole time, and I mean, if it's not one of the dumb ones. Then one of the things about horror movies is that they rely on people's stupidity, or like the plot relies on stupidity. So people have to do something stupid in order for them to have this, you know, whatever's going to get them, and that always drives me crazy, you know. But I guess it's an important part. But even the ones that can keep you engaged, it just gives me a bad feeling, you know, like it's like anxiety. It's like it's worse. It's like sitting in traffic, but constantly having, not paying attention and having to slam on your brakes or something. It's like a bad feeling. So,
sure.
But whatever, I want to go see this.
Yeah. I mean, I'm one of those people. I have a pretty, you know, at this point, I have a good life. I mean, I had a lot of adversity growing up, but at this point now things are good. I have a good job. I have my fiance, all these things, you know, and I like to inject a little bit of this, like, you know, let's go see it and let's feel uncomfortable so I don't forget what that's like. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, and
yeah.
It makes me feel, that whole movie, it really touched on a bunch of like weird things from my childhood that made me uncomfortable and fearful when I was a kid. And it still does, you know, watching it. Yeah. I watched it last night actually. And it was kind of like I blame you. I don't blame you, but it's like me and my girl went out to eat and we were right next to a movie theater. I'm like, hey, you know, we haven't seen the new It movie. I'm talking to Randy from Pennywise tomorrow. Let's go watch it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I wish I do. I wish I had something better to say than I don't like clowns.
No worries. I mean, it's freaky. I'll tell you that. There's a lot of clowns.
But I get what you're saying about that. You want to have the contrast. You need to have the contrast, you know. And sometimes if you don't remember where you come from, or some, you know, things, you know, that make you, you know, kind of make you appreciate what you got. You know, it's sometimes, you know, you just might start taking it for granted. So I mean, I know I've done that. So yeah, for sure. You got to remember where you come from. You got to have the balance, man. That's the key to life. And you know, the monks have been talking about it from the beginning of time, you know, like the yin and yang. You got to have a little bit in there to remind you of what's going on. Right.
You know?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, man, I'm gonna let you go. I know you got stuff to do. I really appreciate you taking time to talk to me. Let's see. You got October 21st, the Craft Beer Festival, Ye Scallywag in San Diego with the Vandals, Strung Out, and Me First and the Gimme Gimmes. You got an Australian tour coming up as well. You're doing a bunch of tour dates out there, right?
Yeah.
I'm assuming you've played Australia before, right?
Oh yeah. We've been there probably at least 10 times.
Okay.
Maybe more. It's a great place. Yeah. So we're looking forward to going down there. We're going to play the Full Circle record front to back. So that'll be exciting. And
that's at the end of November, right? November 30th in Anaheim is when I think you're starting it, right?
Oh, the House of Blues show?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Google House of Blues. So I don't know. I should have those. Yeah, I think we're playing 2 shows there.
Yeah, you're playing November 30th and I think December 1st. 2 shows for the Full Circle anniversary. And I mean, I appreciate your time. I'm gonna try and go out there to the Anaheim show on the 30th. It'd be great to see you guys.
Oh, well, hit me up before. You got my number, and I could try and make sure you get. If you hadn't tried Pennywiser yet, then I'll make sure you get a couple.
Awesome. Yeah. And I'll, if you're interested, we can meet up. I'll bring you a couple. I work at a brewery out here in downtown LA, so I could bring some beers for us to share and have a good time. Nice.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Well, all right, brother. Thank you once again. I guess, anybody listening that wants to stay up to date, just go to Google Pennywise. I mean, you guys have social media and everything up and running.
We got it all.
Yeah. So you can find them very easily. It's been an honor. I mean, like I said, it was one of the first bands that I ever listened to. So thanks again, brother.
All right, Eddie. Good talking to you.
All
Thank you for having me on.
For sure, man. Cheers.
Okie doke. Bye-bye. Majority.